Good afternoon, and welcome to a very special edition of Who Am I? I call it a special edition because I wasn't able to make the recording this morning, and I have actually never recorded this show any earlier than 6 a.m. It's something that I have been doing in the early hours of the morning, right after I wake up. My mind is fresh, my intentions are clear, and I'm able to do it. I've never done it as an afternoon shot, but I really wanted to get today's program done. So even though I missed the morning slot, I'm going to try to do it this afternoon. It'll all depend on whether I can get my head straight and in the right zone to pull together this group of concepts that is my thesis. I'm connecting dots. And the dots that I'm connecting go to really big pictures that they themselves would be enough to try to figure out without connecting them to something else. I'm talking about law of attraction, and I'm talking about unified quantum physics. And the very nature of reality itself, the rules and laws of the universe. I want to talk about who am I? Who am I as a human being? Who am I as an individual? Who am I as a specific individual at some point? But who am I as humanity, as mankind? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? How does it work? How does reality itself play out? How does it work? How do psychological rules work between human beings? All of that stuff. We're basically asking the question, who am I? And we're asking that question in reference to source energy. What is source energy? How does this whole setup work? I've been born onto a grid in a particular space and time with reality unfolding around me. How does it work? How does it work? Who am I? Who am I? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What are we made of? How do I make my dreams come true? What's the meaning of life? How does it work? How do I use the knowledge of the laws of the universe to make my own life a better life with more satisfying relationships, less negative drama, more positive outcomes, more success in my endeavors? Abraham Hicks, who I am a student of. I'm a student of many, though. I have swallowed many gurus in the course of my lifetime. I try to ingest fully what I think people are meaning. And I have lots and lots of teachers, and Abraham was just one of them, but it was an important one. 4 years ago, when COVID shut the world down, and we all kind of retired to our respective corners and did our own thing for a year, or at least those of us who were blessed enough to be able to do that, did that. A lot of young people had to stay out on the front lines and, keep the grocery stores and, vital industries going for all of us, and I really appreciate that. But I was one of those people who just kind of stayed home for a year. My husband brought his work home. He worked from home. We became very private, didn't see anybody, and I studied law of attraction. That's when I found Abraham Hicks. So the reason I bring up Abraham, she's the one who brought to me an understanding of law of attraction, but there are many motivational teachers out there who absolutely understand how this kind of thing works. Everybody from, Joe Dispenza and Eckhart Tolle and Tony Robbins and There's Greg Braden. There's just all kinds of teachers out there who have come to an understanding that there really is a pattern to our lives. There really is something really interesting going on in the business of reality making. And for my part, my little show is just trying to describe, we're talking about this certain topic. Who am I? Who am I as an individual? And that brings us to a bunch of understandings. And who am I as source energy? Who am I as a vibrational being? Also, who am I as mankind or humanity or the human species itself? Where did that come from? And what does it mean to be a human in the setup that we've got in the world around us today? Now, it turns out the quantum grid that we live on, are embedded within. We don't live on the grid. We are embedded within the grid. We are made of quantum particles. We are a field phenomenon. We are part of an allness that is going on around us. And not only that, this universe is holographic, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it means, what that means, and what the mathematics of that is, and why I can even say with some certainty that we do indeed live in a holographic universe. So to begin with, I want to make it clear, first of all, for anybody who doesn't know me. Now, I don't think anybody now is listening to this program who doesn't know me, because I have only given the address to friends and family. So I'm hoping that if you are listening to this, that you are kind in your... but I don't do this for other people's opinions, and I want to make it clear what my intentions about this are. Because in the end, although I am talking about source energy, and it turns out that that's kind of the same sort of thing that other people are talking about and call it other names, like God and stuff. And so I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I don't want to irritate or offend anybody, because I'm trying to come at it from an extremely matter of fact, and I'm taking no sides. I'm just, without resistance, I am looking at thoughts and putting them together, and we're just going to have an interesting hour plus. I don't know, it'll depend on how long I can keep this up, because I just talk to myself until I think that I'm petering out, or I've said what I wanted to say, or it's a good take, and then I say goodbye for the day, and tomorrow I'll start again. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm telling you what my intentions are, and my intention is this. This is my stated intention. My intentions are only to aid and abet the rising consciousness of humanity, to help us find ourselves in our own skin and our place in the universe. Amen. And what I mean by this is I am myself starting no movement. I want no one to do what I say, or follow any sort of direct instructions. My instructions are going to be, find your center. Find your center. And then do what you are inspired to do from the inside. And, other than that, I'm not ever going to say, go do this action and then that action and then some other action, because only you can figure that out. So I'm starting no movement. My intention is only to help the rising consciousness of humanity and just have a little discussion about things that I think are interesting, because there's two reasons. There's a two-pronged reason why I address this subject in this way. There are two intentions about it. The first one is that I believe that a better understanding of who we are, what reality actually is, how reality actually works, how matter comes into being, how experience unfolds, how we relate to each other, how the energies flow, what facilitates what. How do you we're dreaming this into being. We are dreaming it into being, and how it feels is way more important than we have been giving it credit for. We have been looking at it with a sterile mind and trying to convince ourselves that feelings are illogical and that the really logical way to address the situation is just to turn all feelings off and then compute it in your mental mind, and or whatever, the Sheldon Cooper slash Mr. Spock kind of way. And Mr. Spock was always my favorite, and I believed the notion that our emotions are not primary, but the fact is we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And our feelings mean a lot, because as a vibrational being, those feelings, those emotions that we're getting, that we have been thinking are just getting in the way of our being able to accurately assess what we're looking at in any given time, that they're not in the way. They are primary signals telling us how to move and what the nature of the physicality around us actually is. We just haven't been interpreting them correctly. We've been just taking them as a bald-faced assessment of whether we like or dislike the current physical conditions. It's kind of a duh thing. You see bad stuff, you see people being murdered, you see ecosystems dying, you have a really bad feeling about that, or, somebody that you love dies and you cry, duh, in the way. But that's not what it is. Because actually we are a binary being. We are a binary system. By binary, I mean binary in a lot of senses. There's a lot of ways that we are both this and that, as in this one aspect, and yet somehow it's counterpoint. It's exact opposite. Like, let's see, I've got this in my notes here somewhere. So by binary system, I mean, first of all, I'm sorry if I'm monkeying with the sound system. Hopefully you aren't being very disrupted by this. So by binary system, I mean it in a lot of different ways. And primarily, fundamentally, all the way down to the level of the quantum field itself, we are form and formless. So what you actually are made of the quantum field. Everything is. It's like this unified space-time material. It's the pixelization, if you will, of the universe. I got a picture of it. I think I have a picture. Let's see. Something like... sort of like this. But in any case, we're all made of this this magical stuff, this quantum field, this divine matrix. And in that sense, it is a morphogenetic field that can achieve any form. It's like the ultimate freaking Lego set. And in this really cool and mysterious way, because the universe is holographic, I possess the same Lego set as anyone else, anywhere else in the universe, with the exception of, and it turns out to be a really important exception, the exception between my Lego set and your Lego set, which both contain all the information of all of the universe, contemporaneous. I mean, as it unfolds, updated, now, you have, and I have, and everyone has, because the universe is holographic, an entire set of all the information, all the vibrational frequencies of all of the rest of the universe. The exception being is I am getting mine from where I'm standing, and you're getting yours from where you're standing. So the signal, the relationship between all the distances and places and frequencies and the relationship between stuff is different, but the total set is still the same. You're iterating the whole universe from where you are standing, and I am iterating the entire universe from where I'm standing. That's the difference. And so we all have the same pieces, and so there's this wonderful, harmonious, symphonic dance that plays out between all of us but this universe, this world of ours here on planet Earth would go way, 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 way smoother if more of us understood exactly what we were dealing with. And so to that service, I am dedicating my program again, who am I? Who am I? And I get to ask that question because I'm an I, and I had the word and then it just flew. Well, I have the right to ask that, and I would encourage everyone to ask that question independently. Who am I? Who am I? Who are we? You're an I, you're a we, you're an us. There is no them. So I know that that's hard to hear because there's so obviously a them. So obviously is there people who are losing their minds and acting antisocially, and they're mean and they're wrong, and people are being killed, and the world is a tough place and all that. There's obviously people who are more wrong than others who are, that guy who took his gun and gunned down 500 people in Las Vegas. He's them, right? He's them. Well, unfortunately, there is no them. There is only us. And your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. Now, that's not my quote. That, although I wish I'd said that. That was Khalil Gibran. I used to think it was from the book The Prophet, but now I think it's something else. Anyway, he's the one who said that. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And that's because, as humanity, we are a single morphogenetic field. Now, as the allness of the whole universe, that also is a single morphogenetic field. There's all kinds of ways that the universe individuates and joins momentum with and has identity with all kinds of morphogenetic fields. There's the morphogenetic field of all of the biology on planet Earth. That's a kind of a bigger one. Within that, there's the morphogenetic fields of all the different species with their patterns of, becoming. And so as humanity, we are a single morphogenetic field, which means that we are a field phenomenon, and what those people who are acting terribly are doing is not divorced from our own lives and from our own beliefs and our own feelings and how we put the world together and our actions. It's just like when the crazy person in the family goes to see the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist knows that there is a deeper dynamic going on and that there's something with the whole rest of the family that needs to be addressed. And that's kind of the same thing, The conservatives, who I have always disagreed with on this point, and yet, from this spirit, I find that I don't disagree with them. They're right. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. And it's screaming that we should address this. They scream about, we think that they, or who's we? There is no us and them. Some people think that they change the subject to mental health, just, to keep from having to do anything. And that's what in action it turns out looking like. And so nothing gets done, and more guns are made, and more guns are sold to all kinds of people, and crazy people kill other people with the guns. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. Children, and our country is a crazy place to be right now, in places. Now, I just say that from rumor because, frankly, I follow a very graceful, peaceful, drama-free path. And sometimes I have to kind of peek into other areas in order to even remember that there is problems in the world, because I don't spend my time focusing on or looking at those problems, but I do recognize that we have these problems. Actually, I'm going to, let's see. I don't know where I want to move this to. I don't know. I have another guy. I'm not sure where I'm really going with this. My intention, as I said earlier, is to connect the dots between some really big topics. And I have a two-pronged intention about it. One is that as individuals, we can each lead happier, more successful, more fulfilled lives. But there's another aspect that is equally as important and actually will facilitate the first, us leading happier lives. A better understanding of who we are in reference to source energy, and a better understanding of what source energy actually is. Where does reality come from? What is the source of matter and the nature of gravity? What is it? Mathematically, what is the math that describes it and can be repeatable and understandable and visualizable? And frankly, the math has been done. And the math was done by Nassim Haramein and a team now, a tremendous team of mathematicians and physicists over at both the International Space Federation and the Resonance Science Foundation. They're both .orgs, I believe, that you can go and look at and see all the new interesting stuff. We've got to transition our energy source as humanity off of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels is what is creating the geopolitical nonsense in the world today. The only reason Putin has the power that he has is because he controls the petro rubles, I suppose, and he has his oligarchs, his team of aristocrats that own resources that help produce the needs of the human beings around him, and that's why he has the power to buy the guns and invade the territories and whatever. When the energy systems are no longer centralized, that's another thing. Because even if you could completely transition from fossil fuels to say the great the Holy Grail is discovered, the Holy Grail of nuclear fusion, absolutely clean energy that we can produce unlimited sources of in these high-tech, lots of moving parts still, and lots of technology and lots of centralization, these power plants somehow we got to have systems of transferring the energy to all the people, which includes hardware and Even if you manage to get that one into place, you still have a highly centralized energy system that is still vulnerable to uh, sabotage, and the elements. Mother Nature can sabotage, even when you can finally get your fellow man to quit trying to sabotage each other. There's still a lot of problems with that form of energy, and there will still be billions of people on the edges of the systems that don't have any access to any energy at all. So it's still not a solution. It's not the one we're looking for. The one we're looking for is we need to understand, well, so ultimately, a full understanding of the physics of our world will bring us to not only being free from fossil fuels because we can plug directly into the source of all energy, the spin, the primordial spin that we all stem from. Each one of us is like a divine um, individuation in spin of all coming out of the same spin. I call it the pull of the shared point. That point that we all share without going anywhere. It's a non-local point. What is the point? It's the point where all of the information is contained, in that single point, because it's all holographic. Now, I recognize that some people are going to be listening to me, and if they haven't heard some of the basis of the concepts I'm throwing around, they might think I am out of my mind, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree with them. I did say we are dreaming this into place, and so my advice is mostly to help us indeed dream it into place and not nightmare it into place. Because our feelings are so much more important than we ever thought they were. And I know I touched this a while ago, and I went off on Mr. Spock and Sheldon Cooper and did a little bit of a tangent, but we're going to talk about why your emotions are so important. It's because they are giving you, in vibrational form, a great deal of information about the physical world around you. Because the physical world is not just physical, it's vibrationally physical. And so your vibrational self is reading the rest of the vibrational field. And the way I like to think of it as, I think of it as coming across a frequency. It's a kind of a channel, and the channel is being broadcast through your entire atomic structure, for instance, because every one of your protons is a little teeny weeny mini black hole that within its Planck field contains all the information of all the rest of the protons in all of the universe, are all encoded in the Planck field of every black hole proton. That black hole being spelled both HOLE and WHOLE. And that's kind of the basis of what. So, across every one of your protons, every now, all the information of all, it's like everything is uploading its information to the whole, the allness. I call it the Almighty. To the whole, to the uploading to the whole, and the whole, the information of the whole is downloading to all the parts every now. And the way it's doing it is it's doing it vibrationally. It's doing it by means of an interference pattern, a little interference where everything is jiggling, all the frequencies are jiggling together all the time. And it's creating this cosmic interference pattern that in the interference pattern contains all the information of all the parts everywhere in all the universe. And there's scaling involved and screening involved so that you aren't, as experientially, as consciousness, as you're moving through it, you aren't slammed with all of it at once. The near stuff plays a little different than the really far stuff does. But if you understand how the setup is, you can tune in and plug into that frequency and get any information anywhere in the universe is at your fingertips at all times. This is how come a whole lot of things that we haven't been able to explain before with sensible explanations that always seemed like paranormal. And there shouldn't be anything outside normal. Anything that is true, that is real, should be seen as natural, not supernatural. Supernatural implied an intervening consciousness of some sort who could make the rules be different and do anything, you know, including make the rules not apply, which that isn't true. That isn't the anything that could happen. The laws of the universe are the laws of the universe, and the way that reality comes into being and the way this morphogenetic field moves, it's kind of a fixed thing. You can't really change that. But beyond that, the pixelated quantum divine matrix can morph into anything, anything, anything you can be, do, or have, anything that you want, once you identify with who you really are. And who you really are is that eternal aspect of you. You are the quantum field. But you aren't in there all by yourself, are you? Because now you look around and you go, oh, and we are a big old one thing happening, aren't we? So there's no reason to fight or strive so hard, to force oneness on everybody. The kind of oneness that the human species does not want or need is lockstep and groupthink. That's the kind of, it's sort of a pseudo unity expression that is quite rigid and painful, and it goes against your natural internal instincts. It does not account for your GPS, your emotional guidance system, that we may or may not get a really good chance to talk about. I'm going to assume that some people who finally find my broadcast and start listening to me will have heard of some of these things on their own. They will, if I bring up the pain body concept of Eckhart Tolle and say something using that as a reference, they might understand what I'm saying. And if I talk about law of attraction and the laws of momentum and crossing your own energy or not crossing your own energy, or the vortex of creation, or all of those kinds of things, people might understand. Some days I might actually stop and explain those things too, because I can do that also. I can explain the laws of the universe, how momentum and the law of attraction, that which is likened to itself is drawn, that rule, how that plays out. And that's the part that helps individuals have more effective, more peaceful, loving, cooperative lives. You want a cooperative life. The people at the top are all cooperating. The people at the bottom of the food chain, they're the ones who are competing. Life is not a competition. If there is a competition, the competition is who the heck amongst us can cooperate most effectively. That's the one who wins, not just the individual who dies with the most toys. The one who wins is the one who figures out how to cooperate with the most number of other beings to the most massive mutual co-benefit, because we all do better when we all do better. That's the truth of the matter. But the thing is we are all divinely autonomous individuals. And you just can't shortcut this. You can't say, well, I know that it would be better to have this rule in place, and they can't see it yet, but we'll pass this law for their own good. You have to convince people. It's not really the way to force people, anybody, for anything. So we're going to talk about that too. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm absolutely getting ahead of myself. Actually, the bigger part of what drives me to do this program is my anticipation of our near immediate, not quite immediate, but near immediate new technological future our real exciting uncharted waters that are there to navigate lie in the field of understanding source energy, understanding where gravity really comes from, understanding how to tap into the source of all things, and understanding this morphogenetic field that we are divinely, intricately embedded with and co-creating with, how it can be morphed better into more mutually supportive and sustaining ways, as in we need to get off fossil fuels. We do not need to be burning fossil fuels, and that whole money system is causing the planet-wide abundance and scarcity issues, or scarcity of abundance issues, or whatever, however you want to put it. It's causing every single one of the problems that we are, well, every single one of our problems is caused by, let's go to here. This is an interesting place to bring this one in. I bring this up all the time. The 5 kleshas. This comes from Buddhist philosophy. It is considered to be these 5 kleshas are considered to be the root causes of all suffering. That at the very most basic level, these are the root causes. Not knowing what's real, and then when you don't know what's real, and you don't know what you are, and you don't know how the rules work, you start grasping and clinging to. First of all, know that the number one rule of this morphogenetic field that is the divine matrix of the pixelated quantum space-time network, that the number one rule of this morphogenetic field is that it morphs. It morphs. It is change. It is change. And that brings me back to my binary list that I never actually even finished. This is the perfect place to bring it in. So this binary self that you are the form. You are the formless coming into form. That's what you are. So you are the formless and you are the form. You are the eternal. You are the expirational. You are the quantum field. You are your physical body. It's sort of like you're the whole Lego set and you're the physical body that the Lego set has morphed into. You are the macro to the micro, the vibrational to your conventional, which is a little bit misleading because even your conventional self is still vibrational. It's just a different density of vibration. You are the allness. You are the you-ness. You are the general. You are the specific. You are all those things, and the juxtaposition between those two aspects is what you are. You are your specific self walking around in a specific place on the grid doing specific things with specific materiality. You're here on the leading edge of the rolling manifestation, making your choices, getting your feedback from your feelings and, your observations and how you think about stuff and then how you feel about how you thought about that stuff. You're walking around. You are this binary system, the specific one walking around, and then you are the broader perspective, inner being in touch with all things. And because the universe is holographic, remember, it's like all of the across the Planck field of every individual proton is encoded the information of the entire universe. So basically across your entire atomic structure of your specific body, you're getting all of the information of all of the entire universe. And your inner being knows how to read it. That is how come Abraham is correct when she says your inner being knows where everything is, knows who you are, knows who everybody else is, knows who they have been being for all eternity, knows how evolution works, knows that we are expanding, knows that it's all supposed to be fun, knows that we are liquid love, knows that we all share a single point without going anywhere there's no location you have to be in any different than you are in order to be where everything else is. And that's kind of this interesting, mystical aspect of this very understandable universe that we live in. And I believe, and actually, I don't even think we need to go all the way to understanding fully understanding all of source energy in order to get off fossil fuels, because over the last 100 years, there have been, you would be shocked if you could see how many really good game-changing ideas have been ruthlessly submerged, suppressed, and deep-sixed, often literally, along with their inventors. It all depended on what level of force was needed to stop that, to plug that hole in the dike, to keep us on fossil fuels and us chained to this artificially austere universe that we live in. We have the wrong impression about the true nature of reality around us. It is abundant. It is not scarce. And yet it's easy, when you walk into a slummy, ghetto-y area or a place on the planet where, the ecosystem has been stripped of its vibrancy or mined for, whatever wealth we're digging for, be it gold or oil or, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can see places where, but the reality appears that we do live in a world of scarcity. Things are scarce. Everybody can't have, if, what is this, the old saying, if wishes were horses, then beggars might ride, or if wishes and butts were candy and nuts, then we'd all have a Merry Christmas or something like that. We actually do live in an extremely abundant universe. But the law of attraction and the power of our thoughts to create the reality that they imagine is a lot larger than most people are giving us credit for. We are magnificent creators. And that's really good news when you can get a handle on understanding who we are and how it works. But when we're just creating by default, thinking that we are not powerful creators, we are problem solvers, and so the whole idea is we should find the problems and focus on them, and then I don't know. It's just going about it the wrong way. That's not understanding how the energy works, how the energy moves, how your vortex of creation is being created, what your inner being actually is, and what it's reading when it is reading emotions. Emotions are not necessarily what you think they are. It all depends on what you think they are. But we'll go on to that in a second too. So these kleshas, not knowing what's real, primary real thing is this morphogenetic field is morphing, and you actually are the formless in it. And if you would identify with the formless and be okay with the form shifting, you'd be a lot happier. You'd be a lot less fearful. You would know that you actually are the eternal part of that equation. And what you are building on this planet right now, you may think that you're building an empire, that real estate empire, or that fabulous food franchise, or that great idea for, or that brand on YouTube, but what you're actually doing is, and the part of you that you get to take with you, is you are creating yourself. And the self that you are creating keeps becoming and becoming and becoming and becoming, and all of us are expanding, and all of this is supposed to be joyful. It's all supposed to be fun. So now, in the traditional sense, I do have this written here somewhere. Let me just look at it. If your primary assumptions, so I think your primary assumptions up high in your consciousness, really, really important. What do you think about reality? What's real? If your primary assumption, in other words, what you think the object of the exercise is, if you think the object of the exercise is competition and he who dies with the most toys wins, and the setup that I'm in is so if you think that the scenario is competition, zero-sum game, finite pie, paradigm of scarcity, there's winners and losers, he who dies with the most toys wins, if you think that's what it is, you are creating and living in a very, very different world than someone who believes that, and I think that the truth of the matter is, the closer that you live to what the truth of the matter is, then the more successful you're going to be. And I think that actually the truth of the matter is that the name of the game is cooperation. And the setup that we're in is infinite potential, an infinite and expanding pie, a paradigm of abundance, win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win scenarios. It's designed for everyone to be able to follow their dreams individually. Be more selfishly oriented. Quit sacrificing yourself for the rest of the group. Now, you can intend good things for the rest of the group. That is actually very much encouraged. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful when you think in terms of what would be win-win-win-win-win-win for others. That's fabulous, but don't sacrifice yourself. You are as valuable as anyone, and from your point of view, you are more valuable than anyone, and everybody needs to feel that way. Everything in every natural ecosystem actually does feel that way. They are out for themselves, but they also understand that embedded in the rules of the game is that he who cooperates with the most others wins bigger. Human beings somewhere have lost that. They have decided that it's a dog eat dog world instead of a dog cooperate with dog and cat and bird and lizard and, palm tree and whatever kind of world where everything can win. That so don't sacrifice yourself. You need to be more selfishly oriented, and what that really means is, it doesn't mean hog all the stuff to yourself and, everybody out for number one, because that's obviously not what I'm saying. I'm absolutely not saying that. What I'm saying is care how you feel, and know that your feelings are actually coming from a combination of what you're observing, so the truth of whatever it is you're observing, the atomic truth, like what's actually happening in front of you, how are the molecules moving, the truth of what's happening in front of you, combined with what you are thinking about what's happening in front of you. Your emotions are an inextricable combination between what you're looking at, so it's the phenomenon, and then what you're thinking about the phenomenon. They are not separate from one another. Your emotions are a focus. Your thoughts and your emotions are sort of a focus. You play with those two things, thought and emotion, in order to focus in on better experiences, more effectiveness, more joyful, playful, cooperative interactions with more and more beings for more and more satisfaction all the way around. That's actually the name of the game. It is the name of the game. And when we understand that as a species consciously and in our collective education systems, we start teaching our young people these same things, because they need to be helped when they're brand new, fresh, coming straight from source without any resistance whatsoever. That's when they can be taught to perfection how to effectively deal with this beautiful planet that we have and this magnificent system that each one of us gets to deal. And I'm talking about the biotechnology of being in a human body. How does this work? So let's go on to, I'll promise my regular viewers, and it might even be just regular viewer, and I'm not even sure if I have a regular viewer, but occasionally I have a viewer, and maybe I'll get more, and I'm really excited about that for the future, but I can't really keep score that way. I will be coming up with some new slides. There are certain common subjects that I say almost every day I do one of these recordings, and so I can make some slides out of them so that these concepts can be more easily transmitted by me and absorbed by you, or at least tested, tasted, Try my thoughts on. See how they feel. Do they feel good? Do they make sense? If they don't believe them, because I'm a firm believer in the adage, I think it's an adage that I made up for myself. It's, do not ever believe anything that doesn't make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, do not put it in, don't believe it. Your beliefs are thoughts that you do think all the time. And so if it doesn't make sense, you don't want to be thinking it all the time. You don't want it to be part of your primary assumptions. You're part of where you evaluate the object of the exercise, that sort of thing. You don't want to do that. Only believe what makes sense to you. And at some point, it will all add up. And you'll go, oh, okay, interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to be making up some new slides. Right now I don't have a Word program on my primary computer. I'm a little bit visually impaired. It's just visually annoying to me. It's not anything really bad. And technology is not the greatest thing. So someday somebody is going to help me make some slides and make them look really good, and I'll be able to put them into my program. But I'm going to do some minor improving here in the next few days. I hope to have some good news on that pretty soon. Anyway, what do I want to talk about now? So I claim that this is going to get us off fossil fuels. And you may wonder why I claim that. Now, I'm going to leave a link to the YouTube version of this movie. It's free. And if you have YouTube Premium, you don't even have to mess with commercials. It's The Lost, and I don't know what commercials are on it if you don't have that, because I have it, so I don't ever see the commercials. But the movie is The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, and it's a century's worth of inventors having come up with what they're calling over-unity devices, which means it's a device that in some manner puts out way more energy than you put into the system. And some of them were just great ideas, like solar panels that were way too efficient, or ways to make regular car engines work on a mixture of mostly water and just a little tiny bit of oil, or even engines that would get 20% more gas mileage. I mean, just incrementally. Some of them were fabulous ideas. Some of them have been just really good ideas, But the powers that be that have sort of artificially guided us into the paradigm that we all live in now, this sort of not divine matrix, sort of like the movie The Matrix, constructed reality, whereas the true reality that we're actually living in is something so mind-blowing, but it's not mind-blowing like that movie was. The true reality that we're actually living in is really, 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 really cool. And the constructed reality that we have been sold a bill of goods about is this reality that appears to be austere and scarcity, an abundance of lack, with an abundance of lack kind of a paradigm. It seems to be a can't do sort of a thing. War just plagues us, and suffering is everywhere. And gosh dang it, the United States is like a hair's breadth from putting a person and a party into power that has no respect for democracy and the rules. It is deeply it's very not self-aware, because in their own way they believe that they are fighting for democracy, and in some ways they actually are, but everybody's got it a little bit wrong, and everybody needs to add everybody else's page in, because I think that a lot of our government systems are kind of getting a little ishy anyway, because we're too big of an empire and we're very, very not self-aware, and we don't teach ourselves and each other and our children how the energies actually work, and so we don't realize that this election coming up is actually, it's an energy event. It is not nearly as factually based as you might think that it is. It is energetically based. It's being run on feelings. Feelings and passions are what are running this. And as long as one side keeps clinging to facts and does not acknowledge that there is this rage, there is this anger out there, and that all rage, all feelings of all sorts have at their root the meaning of... Hold on one second. I feel like somebody is intruding in my space. All of our feelings are legitimate in their way. None should be discounted. None of them. If you are angry, at least it's better than... So we're going to... This would be the moment. We're going to go to this picture. This is part of my presentation. This is your emotional guidance scale. This is from very far away from your source to as you rise up the list of these. They're illustrating, first of all, that one at the bottom is pretty strong negative momentum. That's momentum having ensued, because that which is like unto itself is drawn, and the law of attraction is another word for talking about momentum. And as you think about a thought and have a feeling, law of attraction starts handing you more thoughts that resonate with that, and feelings that match that. And that's how come all the angry people end up in the same club. You get angry, and then you go to the internet and you post who you are and why you're angry, and there's all kinds of people who feel exactly the same way. Join your little group, and now you're meeting on Wednesdays, and then you're deciding what to do, and that which is like unto itself is drawn. And as you hold any place on the emotional guidance scale, the law of attraction starts handing you more of where you are. So if you're in a negative and you keep getting handed negative, pretty soon you've worked yourself into a pretty good froth, and now you feel all depressed, you're powerless, you shut down. This is a long way of describing something. What I'm saying is that you can focus your thoughts and climb your way up the emotional scale. And the reason to do that is because the vibrations precede the manifestation. And so, you might be sitting there going, I'm not going to climb the emotional ladder. I refuse to feel good in a world where I'm staring at that thing right there that I just really, really makes me sad. I refuse to feel good while that's going on. And so I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to watch that thing that I don't like, and I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to make sure that I continue to mark it so that it doesn't get lost or forgotten or whatever your justification is for why you're doing that. In any case, what you need to understand is that whatever momentum you join, that's what grows. So if you join in a negative place, even though you think that you're trying to make the world a better place by becoming angrier and angrier about those other angry people who are being mean to those other angry people, it turns out that all you're really doing is you're adding to this momentum of the angry, angry, angry. Now, it's important at some point to understand what your emotions really mean. So who are you? Who am I? Who am I really? At my baseline level, with all the bling and biddly boos, excuse me, fallen away, what am I? Who am I? Who am I? And it is my thesis and it is my position. I didn't make this position up. You're certainly entitled to disagree with this position if you want, but my position on this is that who you really are, first of all, you are an infinite potential of a morphogenetic field that is connected to all things that can form into anything. So at the very basic level, you are that. And you are dancing, you are a divine individuation in this dance of all the spins, because so what reality actually is, as it's coming into being, it's spin. Spin is fundamental. There is no such thing as mass without spin. And our understanding of this is going to free us from gravity, which that's the third holy grail of the things that I am trying to accomplish with this program that I do. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? First of all, for individuals, myself included, as I continue to study these things and understand these things and connect the dots between these things, for myself, it is my desire that I help the world around me become more kind, more agreeable, more cooperative, and more drama-free. Because I am not a big, when big drama goes down anywhere near you, yet your heart races and your attention, locks in. And so I'm not saying that there isn't some attraction there, but to be fair, I want to live on a planet where there's a lot less drama going on. I would like to live on a planet where most human beings were mostly doing really well, along with every ecosystem that we co-inhabit, every natural biological partner that we co-create with. I want us all to be doing well. I want to be I want to be swimming in lands of clean waters. I want to be breathing in lands of clean air. I want to be playing joyfully, not at war with anyone else on the planet. That is what I want. I want to be comfortable. I want to be fed. I want all the critters around me, to a reasonable degree, to be in a state of good health, and them to be fed and happy too. I want. And yet right now, in this moment, human beings are in the middle of the 6th mass extinction on planet Earth, being caused by human behavior. Our deserts are expanding. I have heard of Garbage Island out in the Pacific Ocean, bigger than some states that we won't even mention. I don't know how true or what the actual truth of this horrible place is. I know that loosely there's enough garbage that we've thrown into the sea to create a pretty big island, I'm sure. You know, I know that war rages from one side to the other, and that they don't seem to be going away. The one in the Middle East doesn't go away. The one in Ukraine and Russia doesn't go away. I know that we haven't come to the place where we are off fossil fuels. I can still see what we're doing, you know, and what automobiles and anyway. So that was kind of a general list of the things that I don't like and the things that I do like and the things that I do want generally as a human being. I think that our better understanding of source energy from both the who am I as an individual and how does that work way, how that would help an individual better find, for instance, the right partner to spend your life with, or better to find the job that suits your actual temperament best. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. Do what interests you, because it turns out that your feelings and your desires are intimately connected to the reality of the moving parts all around you. There is a divine organization trying to happen as the whole universe, which is alive, by the way, and is consciousness, is conscious, is connected, is there's a connection between all of your ideas and the forming thoughts that you have in your mind and the cooperative components all around you lining up. All the people ready to be helpful, all of the transportation systems finally in place after how many decades, the internet up and running and certain things in place, and now we've got Zoom that's way lot better since the pandemic, and way more people are working from home, and all kinds of paradigms change. Things are always working out for us, people, but you got to know that. You got to have faith. You got to lean forward. You got to keep your focus on what you want instead of focusing on the things that we've got that we don't want. So although in a way I'm focusing on fossil fuels, I don't hardly ever think about fossil fuels. I think about source energy, and I think about who we really are as source energy, and how our better understanding of who we are vibrationally, who our inner being is, how it knows what it knows, and how you can read the information it's giving you. It's like even a negative has all the information in it. It's just like a positive and negative of a picture that you would take with a camera. In all of the information of the positive aspect of that picture is present in the negative aspect of that picture. So when you want something and you're feeling a negative, all your inner being hears, knows, feels, and records is, this is what you want. I know what you want. I remember what you want. I am what you want. And then you, as an individual, just need to learn how to lean in the direction of your inner being. Know that things are always working out for you. They're always trying. Well-being is raining down around you. If you would just learn how to expect good things, how to learn how to read your emotional guidance scale so that you can move up the scale from levels of negative momentum, still those get into, so I have this. This is a little guidance thing. There's 4 general states of being, and you will find yourself in one of these states of being at all times. Now, optimally, you want to be generally positive or specifically positive. Specifically positive is the Holy Grail. That means you're actually looking at something real that has to do with atoms and molecules and stuff and experience and people and relationships. and you're in a positive place and you're getting good ideas about what to do with it. That's the Holy Grail. That's what everybody wants to be in. They want to be in a specific positive place. But it's kind of hard to be there all the time, and a lot of people don't know how to get there. And if you don't understand what your emotions mean, and that you are both your inner being and your conventional self, that you are a binary system communicating across a holographic universe, if you don't understand that, then you're misreading what your emotions are trying to tell you to do. So, you want to be in a generally positive or specifically positive place, either one of those, because from any kind of a positive position, now you are getting clear signals from source about impulses about how to move. Your thoughts are dropping into your head that are relating to a more cooperative, larger group. It's benefiting you, and it's more of a win-win-win-win-win-win kind of thing. Your passions are starting to stir. You're starting to get enthusiasm. It's starting to be more fun. So you want to be in a positive situation of any sort before you take any actions from your impulses. All of your feelings are always valid, but you don't want to act on your negative ones. Not without you might act in the tiniest ways, and only if you really understand what they mean. Because sometimes, to express it just a little tiny bit makes it a little clearer to yourself, so you get the lesson better than if you never let yourself have any action at all in your negative emotion. But really, you don't want to act in your negative emotion. You don't want to be slashing tires and, taking raging negative stands on actions on things, because you're just making a mess of things. You are moving now in the opposite direction of what you really want. And we're going to talk about that. But so what happens if you're in a specific negative? It means you have allowed, you've been thinking negative thoughts, and law of attraction has been handing more to you, and so that momentum is building, and you might have created something that sort of just needs to play out. You can stop feeding it so that it sort of peters out, and it won't start again unless you start it again, because there is no actual source of negativity. It's just you can start a negative momentum, and then you can take it to a manifested place, and it will play out in its little raging storm. But the only momentum that is always going, whether you are consciously tending it or not, is the positive one. There is a source of positive. There is no source of negative. But if you're ignoring the positive and starting a negative momentum, it sure feels like there's a source of negative. But there really isn't. What you need to do is just stop feeding that negative, and then learn to, it's a question of focus and attention. What you're focusing on, what you're paying attention to, what kind of thoughts that you're having about it. And then, because everything is bottomless, every rat hole is bottomless, every delightful utopian dream of perfection is also bottomless, and it's your choice which way you want to go. And as a human being, the biotechnology that you have been blessed with is really powerful. And so it's important that you understand how you work, that you really are 100% creating your own reality. And how you're doing it is by the thoughts that you hold, the thoughts that you hold, and what emotions what emotions you're experiencing, and then what you're doing with those emotions. That is what that has to do with is the impulses that you're following, and the ideas that you get, and the actions that you are inspired to take. The actions that you are inspired to take when you are focusing on the magic and delightful, joyful expansion and the collective inner beings and who people really are, as opposed to how they are being in their ignorance. Depending on which one you're focusing on, you're taking completely different impulses, you're plugged into different frequencies, you've got different ideas popping into your head, and it's really easy to do a very broad example that illustrates how easy it is to see how true this is. If you are in a state of deep specific negativity, you're down there in jealousy and rage, anger, maybe you've come up out of depression, but you look around and you do not see any way to make money, and you're hungry and you're angry or whatever. From that position, the only kinds of ideas that come to you about how to make money, or you're more likely to have these ideas, is, I'm going to run into that 7-Eleven because there's cash in their cash box, and I'm going to grab all that cash and run away. And that's about as far as your ideas go. You're down there at the very bottom, competing with everybody else at the bottom. But if you get up into the higher frequencies when you're feeling better, then now all of a sudden you're getting better ideas about, what different kinds of convenience stores or better cash registers, or, even contraptions that make sailing on a beautiful sea more fun or more accessible to more people. You see what I mean? When you're in a better place, you get better ideas, you get better impulses, and you might say, yeah, but that's all just a crapshoot to begin with. If you find yourself in a good situation, you get good ideas. If you find yourself in a hard situation, you get hard ideas. That didn't have anything to do with you, and that's actually not true, because you are an eternal continuum, and you are on an eternal journey to discover yourself. Who am I? Who am I? Who is this divine individuation of this divine almighty oneness that we are all part of? And how does it work? And how do thoughts become things? And you are 100% responsible for your experience, but that's good news, not bad news, because you are not to blame for your experience. You should mostly even take the word blame right out of your lexicon of words, because nobody is to blame. We're all in this together. Just understand how it works, and understand that you have 100% of all of the control that you need to make the most fabulous, satisfying life that you could imagine out of wherever you are now, and it doesn't matter where you are now. If you would just understand how this energy moves, how it all works, and then take responsibility for it. The thing is it's great news that you have all that control, because it means that no one, if you want to take back your life and your experience, you have all the control you need. So what I'm saying is, say for instance you think that person over there, it's their fault. It's their fault. They left me, and now I feel terrible, and I feel so terrible, and everything I do just makes the conditions around me worse and worse as I thrash around in my very justified pain, because that person really hurt me. They really, really hurt me, and I feel really bad. And now I feel really bad, and as I feel really bad, I am taking all these impulses of feeling bad, and I'm acting on them, and my life is just crumbling. It's their fault because they did that. And if they had never done that, then I would not have been sad, and then I would... But see, in that scenario, you have no power. You have zero power. You have given all the power to the other person, saying, it's your fault, you did it, and I am helpless to do anything about that, unless I can force you to come back to me, then maybe I could be happy again. Well, let's go back to the way it was, when obviously it wasn't all that great, or I wouldn't have left you in the first place, or whatever. She wouldn't have left you. He wouldn't have left you. The good news is it's not them. It's you. Now that sounds terrible, because now you're like, what? I've made this terrible drama out of my life and it's really my fault, not hers? How can that be true? Well, the reason it's good news is because when it's their fault, you are helpless. When you have control, then you realize that all you need to do is understand how the energies work. You need to quit focusing on what you've got that you don't want. You've got to quit focusing on the absence of something that you want, because all things are, every subject is like two subjects, both the presence of that thing that you want or the agony of the absence of that thing that you want, So there's its presence or its absence, the positive part or the negative part. And it looks like the same subject. But if you are sitting there thinking about money, you may not be thinking about money. You're not thinking about abundance. You're not thinking about having things and feeling, because that's actually a very abundant feeling. It feels good over there on that side. What you're really thinking about, even though you think you're thinking about money, you're thinking about the absence of money. You're thinking, I don't have any money. Boy, I wish I had money. I don't have enough money. That's what you're thinking of. And you're getting whatever you're thinking about. So in this case, you think you're thinking about money. Why don't I have money? I'm thinking about money. No, you're thinking about the absence of money, and that's why you have the absence of money. So this is the answer, people. The way we are designed, we're actually designed to, yes, identify that thing we don't want. You don't want to be, putting your head in the sand and completely ignoring, all things, because you're a problem solver in a way, but you're not a problem solver. You are a solution finder. So that is a very subtle energetic difference. You get to see the problem, but then immediately your spiritual stance is, let's find the solution. Not, let's keep staring at this problem until finally I can solve this problem, because the emphasis there is on the problem, and the center of your focal point stays on the problem, when actually you need, the way you are designed, you need to find a way to put your focus, the focus of your attention, on the solution. You might say, but the solution hasn't been made yet. How can I put my mind on the solution? There is no solution. There's still a problem. Well, you may have to imagine it, and you may have to have faith. Expect that a solution can happen, because you understand how this morphogenetic field works. You understand how it can be anything, and how it actually moves and expands and evolves through the desire of all of the beings within it following their bliss. And that's how you end up with a ecosystem. Each and every ecosystem has in its every way, every little detail is an aspect of what some detail within it desires. It's got what everybody wants. In the rainforest, there's a little bit of what everybody who lives in the rainforest wants. And there on the coral reef, there's a little bit of something that everybody wants, Everybody gets what they want, and everybody gets to want something different. And we are all these magnificent, divine iterations of this holographic universe that we're all part of, which, if you go look at the math has been done on the holographic universe. And I'm going to draw your attention also to this. This was a paper published back in September of last year, The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. This is the full abstract, which you could freeze this, and you could just study that full abstract and see what it's trying to say. It's very audacious. Yes, it is. And then I'm going to post. So I already said I was going to post, because I do this on every episode. I'm going to post a YouTube link to the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, which is that documentary about the history of over Unity devices and how humanity truly can move away from fossil fuels. And it is high time. We need to do it right now, right in the nick of time, before World War III consumes us all, and before we completely before we completely kill the planet. I mean, it's right in the nick of time. Just as the caterpillar eats the last green leaf on the bush, then it turns into a chrysalis, becomes a butterfly, flies away, and eats no more. That bush regenerates and life goes on. I mean, we do have a lot of really cool, major cosmological evolutionary forces in our favor. Each and every one of us has an inner being, which is literally in touch with the whole entire universe. And humanity has an inner being and is incrementally, and you can see it in the different countries around the world as different governments adopt different policies that are beneficial in different ways for the humanity that they try to serve. And then how some governments they sort of devolve into something else and implode upon themselves. Usually empires do that. I'm not predicting or encouraging anything. I do happen to live in an empire that thinks of itself as a peaceful and open-minded, a beacon of, something positive and progressive. We'll see. It all depends on how high we can raise our consciousness, because our war machine isn't very conscious. I do understand why it does what it does, but I'm going to post the 37-minute YouTube full mathematical explanation of the paper. It's a YouTube video. I'm going to post it on my description of this video that I am going to post in here just a little bit. Here I screenshotted a whole bunch of, I only did 13 screens. There's a 14th one that came out of the paper itself. These I screenshotted from the video describing the paper. If you're really nerdy and physics inclined, go look at this. Consider a career bringing a full understanding and conquering of gravity to our people, and not just to the black ops section of our own government, who probably already knows how to defeat gravity. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm actually not all that. It is a conspiracy, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And I certainly wouldn't focus on any conspiracy, because ultimately there is no us and them. It's all us on both sides of every conspiracy. And so the answer to our problem is not to focus on those who have hoodwinked us, but rather to focus upon the concepts that will free us from any future hoodwinking. And that's kind of the way I see it. So there's one other thing. I did not discuss it yesterday. It has to do with our structure itself, because I believe that we are designed. I think that we are, of course, incremental, eternal evolutionary processes are absolutely in place. I don't think they are random. I think at the core, they are driven by the desire of the being who is evolving. That snail or whatever, as he's sliming across the surface and does not find a food that pleases him, has his preferences and, has his desires, and his little desire is setting off some kind of little rocket, and as the ecosystem evolves, somehow it is going to include slime that pleases him, or he's going to change into something that can more more fully appreciate the plants that are there. Or it's sort of a mutual metamorphosis that's happening, because we are a divine matrix. We are a field phenomenon. We are both divine individuations and we are a divine holographic wholeness, both at the same time. Now, this right here shows the general configuration of the human mind. Goes the neocortex is that layer of human mind over, well, let's go the other way. As you evolved from a reptile into a mammal, your lizard brain takes care of certain functions. When you became a mammal, you had to focus differently, because you didn't just lay your eggs and then take off without ever having to go back and check on them. Now you've given birth to something that you have to nurture, you have to focus on, you have to care about, you have to take care of. And so it gave you a different layer of brain. And you didn't trade in your lizard brain for a mammalian brain. You layered over the top of it. So it just added more, because this is a universe of addition. More is the name of the game. It's never less. You never subtract. You always add. And then that layer of mind that's human, 76% of the volume of the neocortex, and the neocortex gives you that sort of an overview layer of mind, gives you logic and analysis, rational thought, control of emotions, language and morality, all that stuff, that ability to think past a knee-jerk response to a situation. You can see you can apply more facts, you understand. 76% of this comes from human chromosome number 2, which turns out is a very special chromosome. It's a chromosome that appears to be a fusion of 2 other chromosomes. And back in 1991, these people, you can see on this slide who gets credit for this article. It was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and it's really easy to find. PNAS.org. Go look up that date, October 15th, 1991. That volume. I couldn't find a table of contents, so I just looked at the names of the articles until I found this one, because I knew it was in this volume somewhere. It's the 40th article in Origin of Human Chromosome Number 2, an Ancestral Telomere to Telomere Fusion. This is the full abstract. And basically, these geneticists got together and they analyzed this chromosome in detail. And they noticed a sequence of whatever they call these things, inverted arrays of vertebrae, telomeric repeat, and a head-to-head arrangement. They talk about cosmids and sequences flanking. What they're saying is that after analyzing this chromosome, its configuration is telling them that it is a fusion of 2, and they say the words, 2 ancestral ape chromosomes. They say, we conclude that the stuff they've been explaining for 5 pages is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. So they were apes before they fused, and upon fusing, here comes the neocortex, the enlarged overview mind. It's anatomically modern humans. We used to call this Cro-Magnon man, but we don't call it Cro-Magnon anymore. We call it anatomically modern humans. Somebody thought that was more direct and to the point, I guess. Or maybe Cro-Magnon was too difficult to pronounce. I'm not sure. What I think that this implies, and whether you agree with me or not, is neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter much to me. But what I think that it implies is that somewhere along the line, a naturally over the long term, incrementally evolving apes on planet Earth were helped along a little bit. And I think that that's probably how come all the cultures all over the planet have creation stories, and they don't all just allude to incremental long processes. They're all like stories about creation. And I used to think that they must be analogies or metaphors for, true incremental evolutionary processes. Both are true. Their incremental evolutionary processes certainly do happen, but human beings were bumped along a little bit, I believe. And that's all very interesting, because who would have done that 200,000 years ago? Well, the only people that could have done it is somebody from another planet, which brings us all the way back around to UFOs, which also is very interesting, because if you watch the movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, it's claiming that the biggest reason why UFOs continue to be held as an open secret. I mean, it's a secret, but the details of it are not open, and it's denied in many, many places still, is because when you observe the way UFOs move, they are demonstrating energy sources and energy systems that we do not have, that we are told cannot exist, that we are told that are impossible. And so the powers that be that want to keep us on fossil fuels, that want to keep selling us what the amount of wealth that they hold, the ones that hold the fossil fuels, it's in the hundreds of trillions of dollars worth. Especially when you multiply it to all of the adjacent jobs and services and products and things, that not just the oil itself, but everything that flows from that petrodollar, hundreds of trillions of and all of the power to control the world, the political world, to be the Putins and in their own way the Kim Jong-uns of the geopolitical system that we have right now. And that's the biggest reason why we should get off. Well, what is the biggest reason to get off fossil fuels? So that we'll quit killing the planet? That's a good reason. So we'll quit having wars with one another? That's a good reason. So that who can say which is the most pressing reason to get off of fossil fuels? And the understanding and conquering of gravity too, that one is another holy grail, because once we do that in combination with this new unlimited source of energy, we can pull our transportation systems more up off the surface of the planet, and we're not going to need centralized airports the way that we've got now either. So even though I like to travel the world in airports, I'm not really a big proponent of putting all of our resources into upgrading all of our airports. I kind of wish that we would start putting our resources into understanding source energy and how to get off of fossil fuels and how to conquer gravity. I think we can use hovercraft for the individual ones, and large things can be transported in great big vehicles, perhaps, that, or maybe it's all just individual ones, but it isn't going to be a centralized transportation system. All of our systems are all so centralized. It's coming from our centralized energy systems. And if you watch that movie, you'll see that actually the vision is for small, solid state, no moving parts, little things that go into every individual home that provide all the power that you need. And so all of a sudden you don't need grids, and which are very vulnerable to everything from weather to, the warring neighbors and stuff. You hand power back to all of the precious individual ecosystems all over the villages, the places right now that have no power and are forced to link in with the rest of the world in the way that they do now in order to participate in the current petrodollar energy money system that we use in the world today. Now, I think that even that is everything working out for us, because the reason that we do that is we need to understand who we are. That all of this linking up, with everything from our energy systems and even the International Monetary Fund, and forcing everyone to connect in this unholy way. All of it is coming from us needing to understand who we are, because when we understand who and what we really are and how this really works, we understand where the key to unlock that servitude is, that key that unlocks our freedom. Right now, all the technology that we need to solve every problem that I listed earlier, from the sixth mass extinction to Garbage Island to expanding deserts to war to all of that, all of those things, we have the technology to fix every one of those problems. We can desalinate unlimited amounts of ocean water. It just takes energy. Our agriculture systems, if the energy involved was free, then all of a sudden we can grow food anywhere. We can bloom the deserts with the seawater that we can resequester carbon back into the earth. We can do that, but we need energy to do that. And if the energy that you're using to resequester the carbon is belching out more carbon than it's sequestering, then you're going backwards. We need the energy source. And that's what I believe our understanding of who we are, who am I, ultimately will lead us out of the wilderness and into this new and blessed future. And with that, I'm going to leave you with one more let's see, where do I want to stay? These are my cymatic patterns. I didn't mention this today, but I did yesterday. So if you want to listen to I just need to go. I need to put my thing on. Let's put it right here, because I think it's a pretty picture. And I'm going to do my sign off. So what I want you to do is remember this. We all create our own unique reality within this one common one that we all share. We are dreaming this common reality into place. Let's learn how it works so that we stop nightmaring it into place instead. And until next time, although this sounds a little corny, may the source be with you. Amen.